I love that question because I was on the school board in central Wisconsin, a little town called Wapaka. We have a community of about 5,000 people, but the Wapaka Foundry employs 3,500 people. So Wapaka Foundry partnered with the high school, and our shop class was amazing because the Foundry put the equipment in the shop class because they needed welders, they needed those skills. So it made me think, what would the transportation industry bring to the high school level? And I think the first thing is to talk about the importance of your driver's license. You know, especially for operators, bus, train, you know, trucking, whatever, to make those kids understand how valuable that driver's license is. Because if you have bad things on your driver's license, you're not going to have a career in transportation, at least in an operator position.
Good.
Okay, I'm an engineer, so I'll lay out a little equation here. And the equation is knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. And I think that's what so the universities and the workforce development centers bring us the students with the knowledge, with the exposure, the kind of backgrounds that we need. What we can offer back to you, we should be a resource back to you to provide that experience base that allows them, the students, the individuals, to combine those two things together into the wisdom that adds value to the company, to the community, to their job, and so forth. So in our company, we have put a lot of effort into creating, and I hope I could, by talking about this, we can get other companies to think along these same lines of creating not just a summer job that is allowing a potential prospective transportation engineer or planner to come and spend time in our office and observe us working while they're involved in spreadsheet calculations or such. We try to create a real environment that exposes them, lets them see the vast array of experiences and work that's available within this transportation field. We try to tie it right to the university environment. So when we meet these students, when they're selected well before they start their summer career, we go to the student, we ask them to identify a professor that they're comfortable talking with or that they expect to be taking a course from in the coming fall, winter time. Treat that person as what we call a professor advisor for that student. We'll give to the student and that professor advisor a framework plan for how we intend to spend that summer, what areas, what topical areas, what exposure they get in the planning and the operations and design and other aspects that we get involved with. And ask the professor to comment and critique that. Is there something in here that maybe we could focus on that would add value to the class that's upcoming in the fall through the discussion or the experiences that the student has? Is there something that the class isn't going to be able to cover that we can extend the education of our student of our intern by getting them involved in that? What textbook are they going to be studying from? We'll get that textbook and have it in our office so that as a student is exploring these different areas they're learning from that textbook so that it's familiar for them when they go back into the university environment. We ask the student to stay in touch with that professor advisor. We invite that professor advisor to come out to see the student at about the 2/3 stage of their internship, to see and talk to the student. Student presents to that professor advisor what they're doing, what they've been involved in. They introduce their professor to our staff for an introduction so that our staff learns what the professor and the university are engaged in, creating these relationships, creating these connections that go beyond the summer internship so that the students building self-confidence, they're building awareness, and they're building connections with the professors that we think will give them value into the future. Those are the kinds of things that we on the private side can provide to you as a resource in your workforce development activities.
Okay, thank you.
I think these centers, and Wayne touched on it, one thing, if they could help facilitate, not only the in the classroom and textbook training and learning, but getting, whether we're talking high school students or a 40-year-old looking for a new career, out into the field to really see and experience what these industries are, hear from those who work in the industry, who maybe didn't grow up in the industry or start in the industry, but now they've found their way into the trucking industry and love it, or found their way into the construction industry and love it. You know, a lot of organizations do career days and things like that, but I know in construction, if you get an individual, again, no matter what age they are, but, you know, if you get them on a job site to see what goes on and the pride that goes into, you know, building a highway infrastructure or building a bridge, sometimes it clicks for them. Or to understand how many different aspects, how many different careers go in to a transportation construction project. It's not just, you know, designer, contractor, owner, done. I mean, there's so many aspects, the safety aspect, you know, the electricians that are involved, you know, some of the carpentry involved. I mean, things you wouldn't think of in a transportation construction project. But if these centers could somehow facilitate that kind of in the field experience, not necessarily an apprenticeship, you know, that would be down the line, but just to really expose those who are at least interested enough that they're willing to, you know, take a closer look. Because, you know, brochures and websites and marketing campaigns are essential here. They get you just so far in getting someone's attention.
I think the industry should start using the word crisis. And as you listen to our government, whether local or federal, and they take the podium, very few of them will use that word crisis. They'll say that we have a workforce gap. They will tell you about the baby boomers retiring, and in 10 years, you know, I don't know, 50% are going to be gone. They've been saying that for the last 5 years. So we have, I believe, in the industry, a crisis that the industry needs to start focusing on and how they're going to address the crisis. And I think that, although I don't have all the answers, I have a couple. I think, and it was mentioned here, the collaboration with private industry and some of the efforts, like the centers, efforts that are happening in associations, those partnerships are essential for the industry to start addressing the crisis that is looming and for us to be able to attract more individuals into transportation.
So if I could quickly comment, there's a Department of Labor TACT grant that we're involved with 12 consortium colleges, community colleges, 3 universities, geographically dispersed along the United States. It's all about educating returning vets, underemployed and long-term unemployed in this field. So our certification has these 8 learning blocks, and we created these tests based on these 8 learning blocks. We're rolling them out now, where a person can go and get certified through CSCMP, but in their local geography, and then we're going to connect them with people who can hire them through our membership industry, through our membership, that are geographically connected like that. So there are a lot of ways, and I agree. I mean, I think industry, and I think we should define who industry is, because I know my former job as a senior vice president of supply chain for, you know, multi-billion-dollar food company, I felt I was part of that industry, and I had a role and an obligation to play to connect with people who are building the talent that I needed in my organization. So we can assemble those people through the contacts that folks like this have and bring them into these workforce centers and make sure that we link up what that demand is and give them the supply that they need. That's not all that difficult to do, because these are the folks that need it. So there are lots of different ways for us to connect industry through these workforce centers. And you know, there's not a transportation executive out there who doesn't worry about the future of not only his or her budget, but how they're going to fulfill customer needs. And that always supersedes, you know, anything else that they have in life. It's all about satisfying the needs of the customers. And, you know, until we have driverless trucks everywhere, or I will tell you, there are people out there thinking about Uber for trucking, right? And if you would have said 5 or 10 years ago, what's Uber? What's this thing? That's never going to happen. Well, here we are. And there are people considering, you know, how do I figure out how to have driverless trucks and Uber for trucking? So there'll be all kinds of different marketplace gaps that are going to be filled. And, you know, we have an obligation to step in and try to fill those gaps.